Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for His Worship the Mayor.
Good morning, everyone. Please remain standing for praise from our chaplain, Canon Brian Pippin.
Good morning. Have I got competition? We're going to pray this morning, first of all, picking something out of the agenda for educators, and then we'll pray a normal prayer for the beginning of the council meeting. Let us pray. Let your Spirit, O God, rest upon all who teach in our schools and those who have responsibility for education in this borough. Enable all by word and by example to lead scholars to reverence truth, to desire goodness and to delight in beauty, that following after these things, both those who learn and those who teach may come to know you, the deeper, and the giver of all things, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. O eternal God, from whom alone comes all wisdom and understanding, we beseech thee to direct aright the minds of those who are about to take counsel together on the matters pertaining to the common life of this borough, that in all their deliberations and decisions they may faithfully discharge the duties of their office and ever promote the health, the safety and the well-being of those for whom they seek to serve, for the honour and glory of thy holy name, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Roy. Please be seated. I'd like to remind you all that the council meeting is being broadcasted live over the internet, so we're all on the camera. Please be aware that you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. There is no need for members to stand. Cameras are focused on people sitting down. Remember to speak clearly into the microphone, please. I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting today, councillors, officers, members of the press and public, anyone else attending, representatives of Gwent Police. Is Gwent Police here today? No. Sorry. Please can all mobile phones and other noisy devices be put on silent. If there is any emergency alarm, follow the green signs and go to the ground floor in the Civic Centre car park. If you have any motions or amendments during the meeting, I will need them to be clear, please, before you go to the vote. Agenda item 1, attendances. The attendance register is going around the room. Let me sign you first. Please can all members sign it and send it on. Agenda item 2, apologies. Lead officer, councillor and member support, Richard Grinnell, have you had any apologies?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. We have had apologies from Councillor Barry Taylor, Councillor Neil Waite, Councillor Giles Davis and Councillor Kelvin Harnett.
Thank you, Richard. Members, any apologies? No. Agenda item 3, members' interest. Deputy Monitoring Officer, was it Dallas? Alice? Do you have any advice for members, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There's only one interest to be declared today, and that's from Councillor Kemp, who has a personal but not prejudicial interest, and that's in relation to item 11 on the agenda, which relates to members' questions, and that's in particular question 5, with regard to the payments of discretionary housing allowances. Councillor Kemp has a personal interest as a private landlord, so if I could ask Councillor Kemp to confirm that. But apart from that, members, I'm not aware of any other interest that needs to be declared. Thank you.
I can confirm that.
Pam?
Can I just check if anyone is in any shape or form a landlord, whether they have to declare anything?
It just relates to because the questions from Councillor.
Thank you. Members, any other interests? No. Can you make sure any interests are also written on the normal form, please? Agenda item 4, minutes, 4th of March 2014. Could someone move? We all agreed? Thank you, members. Minutes are agreed. Agenda item 5, update on actions. Members, the updates on what has been done to implement our previous decisions start on page 43 of the agenda. Are there any comments or questions? Is everyone happy to note the updates? Yeah. Thank you, members. Noted. Agenda item 6, petitions. We have 2 petitions for today. Jody Burns, can you please come down to the front and present your petition, and then pass it on along to me, please. And also, can somebody from who's going to take a picture? Would you like to come down as well, please? Members, they want a picture taken of handing the petition over. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Here I have the petition signed from many pupils in our school who strongly believe that Llantarnam School is the best option. The funds available will go a lot further on Llantarnam site as opposed to Fairwater site. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay with that, photographer? Right. Thank you. Thank you, lad. The petition contains 690 signatures. Read the wording if I don't need to go on that bit, do I? No. School Council and students of Llantarnam say, think again to councillors and officers of Torfaen Borough Council. We, the undersigned, object in the strongest possible terms to the proposal put forward by Torfaen Council to close Llantarnam School and merge it with Fairwater School in a refurbished school on the site of Fairwater School. That's what it reads. Clear with that? Yeah. Are we all happy to refer the petition to the Executive Member for Children and Young People for him to respond and report back to us? Yep. So, right. All right. Thank you. Right, where are we? Thank you on that. Mrs. Susan Tamplin, can you please come down and present your petition? And it's the same as what we just done with the other one as well.
I have a petition here that I would like to present on behalf of parents and the community of Llantarnam School. There are 4,107 names here. We strongly oppose the fact that Fairwater is only going to be a refurbishment. We feel that the money would be better spent on the Llantarnam site, as it is only 9 million. But to bring Fairwater up to a Grade A standard will not be until 2023 and will cost £19 million to deliver. We also feel that all the children in the area of Cwmbran deserve the best option and deserve the best education that they can possibly get. So we ask that this is taken into account when the Cabinet meet to make a decision on which is the best site to use. Thank you.
Shall I read that out as well? Yeah. What the petition says, we the petitions, Torfaen County Borough Council, to acknowledge that Llantarnam School site offers the best option for secondary education in Cwmbran and the best option for our children, education and the future well-being. Okay, members, the petition, what I got, says contains 3,417 signatures.
In total, it's 4,690. Yeah, that's right, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Are we all happy to refer the petition to the Executive Member of Children and Young People for him to respond back to us? Councillor Mulvey. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. I get a briefcase for you now. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mr. Tamplin. Thank you very much, Tamplin. Agenda item 7, public question times. Mr. Chris Harris, can you come down and ask your question, please?
My question, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, sorry. Considering the previous occupiers of the land that is now Blind Bran Community Woodland have accessed their land over land that is now owned by Torfaen County Borough Council freely, unhindered, unquestioned and without cost for at least 80 years, what evidence has the Council got that even suggests that the charity do not have a right of access to their woodland for forestry purposes? And is it not wrong for your officers to hold the charity to ransom by demanding the purchase of a licence to allow the charity to comply with legal notice from Natural Resources Wales and transport diseased trees to an approved end user? Following intervention by our councillors, I believe that the demand for 50% of the profit made possibly by the charity will be withdrawn, but the demand for us to buy a licence, pay a £1,000 deposit and pay the council legal fees is still current. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Councillor Hunt, can I ask a response, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whilst the normal policy of the Council is to obtain commercial terms in respect of interest in land in the interest of local residents and ratepayers, in this case it was decided to waive this policy after discussions with the Trust. Members will therefore note the urgent decision on this matter for noting to this Council. This case involved the Blind Bran Community Woodland Group Trust crossing council land as part of an operation to fell approximately 15,000 diseased larch trees. After negotiations with the chairman of the group, it was made clear that any profit made would be utilised to further the objectives of the trusts, i.e. to manage and promote the woodland for the benefit of the wider community. In these circumstances, it was agreed to remove the proposal relating to the council's proposed share of any profit. The operation will involve a large number of lorry movements over the council's land, which also serves as access to residential properties. There are concerns shared by all parties that the access will be damaged as a result of this tree felling operation. So in the circumstances, it was felt reasonable to request a bond of £1,000, which will be returned to the Trust upon completion of the tree felling operation and any reinstatement works required to the Council's land. The Trust have indicated their agreement to this proposal. The only other cost to the Trust will relate to the £200 cost of setting up the licence. In relation to the claim that the Trust do not require a licence, the Council's legal opinion is that a licence is required in these circumstances. However, if the Trust wish to pursue this claim and provide evidence to the Council, we will of course consider the matter further. However, given the generous terms of a licence, it may be considered this is not necessary. In this respect, members should note that the licence has not yet been completed by the Trust. The Council has agreed to widen the provisions to include access for the majority of purposes required by the Trust, with the licence to continue for as long as the Trust maintain an interest in the woodland for their current objectives. The latest information is that the Chair has indicated that the committee are content with the terms and are asking their solicitor to check the licence provisions before it is signed.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr Harris, do you have a supplementary question?
Is it possible for you to detail why you think the Trust don't have a right of access to their land when the land has been, when previous owners of the land, including the Forestry Commission and everyone else, has never had any problem, or their right to access across the land has never been questioned or charged? What's changed now? Why us? Why the charity? Why now? Thank you.
Well, I believe the Trust have agreed to are currently happy with the current proposals. As I said, the usual policy to obtain commercial terms has been waived in this sense in recognition of the good work that the Trust do. However, we have to be careful to sort of listen carefully to the legal opinion, which is that for this particular purpose, felling that large number of trees with a large number of lorry movements, that the licence is required.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Thank you, Mr Harris. Can you please return back to your seat, please? Thank you. Mr Simon Watts, can you come down and ask your question, please?
Mr Mayor, I think Mr Harris made a comment when he ran past me there. Will you ask him to repeat it?
Mr Harris, you made a comment then as he went past. Would you like to repeat it?
My question hasn't been answered.
No, when he walked past, you made a comment. Can you answer?
I can't quite remember what it was, but I don't
Right. Thank you. That's enough. Thank you very much. Mr Watts.
Mr Mayor and Councillors, in relation to the Pennygarn Heights development, Barratts are failing to hold regular monthly meetings with yourself, Mr Mayor, who they have stated is acting as liaison officer between Barratt Homes and the local residents. Barratts are not responding to your highways officers regarding repeated failure to comply with planning conditions on size of delivery vehicles and timing of deliveries. For safety's sake, this must be enforced. Barratts have still failed to remove their event fly posters, despite being requested to do so by planning officers. Is it time for prosecution for illegal advertising, as several other councils have done successfully?
Thank you, Mr Watts. Councillor Glenavon Clark.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Watts, for raising the question and bringing your concerns to Council. Barratts have apologised for the breaches relating to the deliveries. They state that all orders go out with clear instructions to suppliers with regard to hours of deliveries and that non-articulated lorries should be used. However, on such a large site as this, deliveries are coming from all locations nationwide and despite their best efforts cannot fully control the timetabling of lorry movements from suppliers. They have stated that all signs relating to a promotional event have been removed. It is not considered that the authority could justify pursuing a prosecution in this matter. Barratts have stated that the initial liaison meetings with the Mayor has taken place and that they intend to contact the Mayor again to arrange the follow-up meetings, and state that on other sites such meetings have proved very useful.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Simon, have you got a supplementary?
Right, thank you. Yes, regarding the event signs, I note that I've had to raise this question before they were removed. They've had plenty of opportunity to do so. The last signs were actually moved yesterday, and the event was back in early February. Going to the liaison meetings, I was told that there were going to be monthly liaison meetings with Mr Mayor acting as...
Mr Watts, could I just stop there, please? You need to be direct to what you're responding to. The question.
Mr Mayor, when will we have the liaison meetings between yourself and Barrett? What arrangements are going to be made for you to meet with the neighbours to voice our concerns with Barrett's?
Yeah, fine. Go on over.
Yes, thank you, Mr Watts, for the supplementary. I think, Mr Mayor, if it's okay with you at this time, I'll bring the Chief Planning Officer in here because he's met quite recently and he has further update on this question.
Thank you. Duncan?
Mr Mayor, Mr Watts, I've talked to Barrett's and they've assured me that they'll arrange a liaison meeting as soon as possible with the Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Mr Watts?
Well, the only single comment
Mr.
about
Watts,
that is...
that's it. No, sorry. I know.
You did ask what was okay.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, I know we've got to move on. So, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr Watts. Agenda item 8, announcements. Leader, do you have any announcements?
No announcements, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Executive?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, annual scrutiny review. Richard Edmonds, can you introduce your report, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good morning, members. It's considered good practice that councils publish a summary of overview and scrutiny functions every year as a means of promoting the role and value of the scrutiny function. This is the first such report since the council refined its approach to ONS following the WLGA review back in 2011 and the subsequent changes being introduced in the summer of 2012. Following the initial set of changes, the Council's ONS function has continued to be strengthened, most notably during the past year as a result of the WAO's National Review of Scrutiny. During that review, many aspects of our approach have been recognised by our neighbouring authorities as good practice. The report before members today highlights a number of the refinements that have been introduced, but perhaps more importantly looks at what each committee has achieved through their 2013-14 work programme. Members will see from the appendix that a huge amount of work has been undertaken and will recognise the impact upon policies and policy direction that committees have been able to achieve through the recommendations that they have made directly to the Executive. It's been a big year. At this point, I'd like to hand over to the chairs themselves, who would like to give Council their personal views on the work that their committees have undertaken over the last year. I believe Councillor Alan Jones will begin proceedings, and can I suggest, Mr Mayor, that any comments that members may have are saved up until all chairs have presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Alan, you want to start?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a brief overview of the cleaner committee's overview and scrutiny team. As you can see in the council meeting report, scrutiny committees have played a very important role in the council process. Cleaner ONS has dealt with many contentious issues over the past year, and recently we scrutinised a very important subject of school crossing patrols. A conference call was held with the author of the school crossing patrol guidelines from the Road Safety GB, which helped in the overall scrutiny decision. Cleaner Communities Committee are the only committee that have undertaken live webcasting. I have agreed this with the leader. We had 37 views on the school crossing patrol report, which was very good for the first one. The committee are now going through another extremely contentious issue, and that is for waste, and the meeting is scheduled for tomorrow and is again being webcasted live. Thank you. I'd like to hand you over now to Councillor Mills, please.
Thank you, Alan. The Healthier Scrutiny Committee has had an extremely active year, especially where we have carried out a number of fact-finding visits prior to actual scrutiny meetings. We have visited the Children's Centre at Newport, the Children's Centre at Neville Hall Hospital, Pennygarn Community Primary School and a health improvement patient group. One member of the committee commented, "This is scrutiny on the road." And I would like to say that I think that's the best way to describe the work that the committee has done. During these visits, all members have been encouraged to ask whatever questions they wish to ensure they have as much information as possible prior to actual scrutiny meetings. These visits have proved extremely helpful in providing additional information to ensure that we are not just scrutinising the reports provided to the committee. We have found what report states and what service users say are not always the same thing. I would like to thank those members of the committee for giving up their time to accompany me on the visits. We have also received valuable contributions from a local GP and other external agencies to the scrutiny meetings. Following scrutiny meetings, we have made a number of recommendations and, where necessary, we have criticised some service users. However, it has always been constructive criticism, and in a number of cases we have made very complimentary feedback where we have found examples of excellent service. I think this is an extremely important part of scrutiny. It is sometimes very easy to criticise, but we must ensure we as a scrutiny committee praise staff and officers when we see that they are providing an excellent service. We as a committee have always had the attitude that we are not here to give the executive member and officers a hard time, but to work with them to ensure that we are giving the residents of Torvine the best possible service we can. I'd like to now hand over to Councillor Colette Thomas for education.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ray, sorry. As you can see from the report, the Education and Learning Committee has been quite busy during the year. I would just like to say that, as we said, it says in the report, we have changed the remit of our committee so that we focus solely on education. We've taken out some other aspects that were on the committee before. We focused our work this year looking at the Estin inspection report, and we have been working our way through the points that Estin made. I think a challenge for the committee during the next year will be holding the EAS to account. That's certainly going to be a challenge for the Council and for the committee. I would like to thank all the co-optees for their work during the year. It has been a little disappointing that we haven't been able to engage with the primary parent rep and the Welsh parent rep during the year, but I hope that we can rectify that. Thank you very much.
I changed my name by the sound of it. Thank you. Few points from our progress over the last year. I came into this at the beginning of the year fresh, wondering what I let myself in for. I report to you now from the body of work that we as a committee have done for a real job of work on to get on with. At the start of the process, we had the visioning process, at which members, aided by scrutiny staff and what senior managers felt should be the programme, were extracted from a much bigger list. We scrutinised what was needed and what had to be done. The results are in this report, which I commend you to read. My aim now is to illustrate some of the processes that brought us to these outcomes. Witnesses. We had a wide range of people who helped the committee to better understand what we were looking at. From the Welsh Language Society to the staff at Newport's Council and to our own customer services, and all the members of the Neighbourhood Health and Safety Liaison Committee, who it was a very interesting afternoon we spent down there. Expert witnesses for helping us better understand Welsh language provision, health and safety and Torvine HMM practice. Local government accountancy. Does anybody really understand that? It was fascinating trying to find out what we were on about there. And 101 questions raised. Reporting officers for their compiling reports and answering questions in the process. Being scrutinised is not easy and reflects a question said earlier, not easy, and they've gone along with the process, seeing what all this is about. and the committee for being there with staff and providing such a presence. The range of experience and ability and skills for both professional and political haven't given us outcomes, and without them, we wouldn't have got the work done. I'd like to commend this report, to draw your attention to two reports in particular, one on customer care and the other on health and safety. For Torvine staff, both of these reports involve staff, which is the biggest asset of this council, and the duty of care we have as members, how we can get this better and add value. We went and visited the people concerned and listened. Then we went through the committee process, of which we have an image of the people involved. And as a committee, we were robust, positive, and suggested practical solutions to problems. This report and its outcome reflect that. I commend it.
Thank you, Stu. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was very pleased to be appointed Chair of Safer Communities and Overview Scrutiny in May 13. My main priority this year has been work with the committee to focus on ensuring the correct issues have been selected for scrutiny and to make sure strong recommendations to the service area for consideration. The committee has been had a very wide remit within the portfolio. Over the past year, we have been busy scrutinising issues ranging from housing, homelessness, community safety and environmental issues. Although I have been disappointed within the year that there has not been much support from some of the members, sometimes we just call it, and some members have never attended one of the scrutiny meetings. With continuing budget restraints, we have endeavoured to consider as many issues as possible in an attempt to shape policy development, hold the executive to account and monitor performance. In our first meeting in June 13, members received a report on how domestic abuse services were being delivered within Torvine. Whilst the committee recognised funding was an issue, successful collaborative working with partner agencies such as Women's Aid have been crucial to ensure support to being provided to those needed. It was pleasing to note, as a result of the committee's recommendations, more preventative work is being pursued within schools to educate children on healthy relationships in order to tackle domestic abuse more actively within the communities. The committee has most recently been actively challenging how effective the private enforcement company Kingdom has been reducing dogfowl and littering within Torvine, and whether the service has been most effective. It is encouraging to note that, rising from the scrutiny activity, some of the recommendations have been implemented, and the Executive Member of Planning and Public Protection has agreed to extend the contract with Kingdom until April 2014, with a possible further extension to June 2014. Throughout this process, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee has welcomed suggestions from members of the public, business and other organisations. This has been a crucial factor in encouraging good scrutiny and considering the issues fairly. As a committee, we have worked together to embrace the new scrutiny arrangements and will continue to act as a crucial friend during the year ahead. Finally, I would like to thank both members and officers for the commitment and support throughout a very busy year in delivering a successful scrutiny programme. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Scrutiny Chairs. Members, any questions or comments? Right, we start with Councillor Barnett and Stuart Evans. Second.
Yes, this is really scrutinising the scrutiny now. It's a question to Richard Edmonds, because I see there is a colour code for each section. I thought I'd become colourblind because I can only see monochromatic black and white. For example, we've got blue, orange, red and black, yet only, black appears. Are we to take it that no responses have been received, or is that just an oversight, or perhaps a saving in the cost of colour printing?
Thank you, Mary. Stuart?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is really at Councillor Ashby, where he made his report of the scrutiny of customer support. And I know this has come to the attention of this council before, but residents in my ward feel that the customer support, i.e. Torvine Talks, is not working. I have brought this to the executive member before, but my residents are not confident with this service. I wondered if we are going to try to improve the service.
Thank you, Stu. Richard, do you want to respond to them too?
I'll certainly be able to respond to the first one, Mr Mayor. Councillor Barnett, although it does say that it's in blue text, orange text and red text, because we knew that the agendas were going to be monochromatic, you'll note that the orange text is underlined and the red text is italicised, so it should still allow you to be able to navigate through that and allow the council to continue saving money in the process.
Forgive me for being pedantic, but wouldn't it have been easier to actually put that key down that some are italicised and some not?
Thank you. Thank you, Rich. Stuart, do you want to respond to Stuart's?
Yes, actually, Councillor Evans did do us the grace of coming round as well and, at the time and having a look there. I mean, we went there and actually had a look at what the problems were with customer, and we made recommendations to the executive member, which are actually there. And I thought it was a very constructive scrutiny of which the members of the committee made recommendations which are in here. The major part of which was that the staff in there were working very hard, and in fact they needed a different strategy, which is reflected in this document and our recommendations to the strategy to the executive member. And I mean, and that is, if you read our report to council and to cabinet and to it actually says it there. You know, the actual work of the staff is commendable, but actually what we need is a better strategy then. It says it in this document if you read it. I'm sure Councillor Evans has read that.
Stu, comfortable with that?
Yes, thank you for that, Stuart, and I was privy to join you on that visit on that day. Yes, and it was very encouraging, but the residents still feel that the service is not fit for use.
Right. Can I bring Councillor Yole in? And then Anthony.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I feel it's appropriate for me to have a contribution to this, since improvement and scrutiny are in my remit. And I'd just like to make a couple of comments. First of all, the purpose of scrutiny, in my view, and I think it's a view that's largely shared, although I have a difference of views with different members in the last 2 years. But I think there is a consensus that during the last 2 years things are moving in a more progressive way and in the right direction, maybe. There is still some work to be done, but I'm sure that the custodians of these committees, as they stand, are doing their bit in terms of progress in the whole process, if you like. But the purpose of scrutiny is fundamentally to hold the executive to account in a very productive way. I think we get a bit hung up on this friendly fire situation where scrutiny sometimes is heralded as being a friendly persuader or supporter or whatever. There is an edge to scrutiny that has indeed been sharpened up in the last 18 months or 2 years ago, and I'm very, very pleased that that is the case. There is a potential through scrutiny, certainly, for progressing service provision, and this is, in a sense, another one of these basic tenets of scrutiny. We need to be progressing service delivery in a more productive way, and the best way to do that is to challenge the executive at every opportunity, and I think that there is evidence that this is beginning to happen. I will say this, though, on the distaff side, the full potential for improving service delivery as a consequence of scrutiny would be enhanced quite considerably, in my view, if both committee members on the one side and those that they scrutinise, i.e. chief officers on the other side, and I don't mean this to be a blanket criticism, but certainly there is evidence to suggest that both committee members on the one side and chief officers on the other side are perhaps not engaging in the fullest possible way with scrutiny. And until that happens, we're not going to fully realise the real worth of scrutiny and what it can do. It is the key to improving service provision. I'll finish by saying this. The scrutiny team, or rather the improvement team, and I know they are collectively and individually embarrassed by any kind of praise, but they work selflessly to support all of these scrutiny teams, and their work is very largely unheralded and rarely responded to in a positive way. I would like to commend to the Council the strong and important work being done by the improvement team, because what they do, supporting scrutiny, enhances ultimately service provision. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Councillor Yule. Right, members, the recommendations shown on page 48 of your agenda. We are asked to note the content of the annual scrutiny review. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. Anyone against? Anyone abstaining? All agreed. Thank you, members. Thank you, Richard. Next one. Agenda item 10, amendments, members ICT support package. Richard Edmonds, Head of Strategic and Democratic Services. Can you present your report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, in November 2010, it was that long ago, Council adopted a formal package of ICT support for members. In March this year, the Democratic Services Committee recommended that the previously adopted package should be changed as it was no longer fit for purpose. Section 5.1 of the report in front of you sets out some of the reasons behind the committee's views, as well as highlighting both industry good practice and some game-changing systems that are in the process of being introduced, most notably the Council's new smartphone application for managing customer inquiries. The suggested changes to the ICT package come in two parts. Firstly, all members that require a smartphone should be issued one in order that they can take advantage of the new smartphone application. And then secondly, over time, as existing laptop equipment fails or reaches a particular age, the members be provided with a choice of replacement device. This choice will be centred around either a new laptop or a PC tablet, both of which are of similar price. The Democratic Services Committee was clear in its view that whatever devices were selected for the package, they needed to meet members' working styles. For this reason, a trial of a range of devices is proposed to ascertain the most appropriate equipment. The report indicates that any members wishing to participate in this trial should contact me by the 15th of April on a first-come, first-served basis. It's worth noting I've already had 3 volunteers. And with that in mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Members, do you have any questions or comments? No?
I want to make, I think those volunteers, and I thought we agreed this, Richard, would be a cross-party.
Of the agenda, we are asked to adopt the reserve members ICT support package and agree the process shown in the report. Can I have a show of hands, please? Right. Thank you. Anyone against? Anyone abstaining? Thank you, members. Thank you, Richard. Agenda item 11, members' question time. There are 6 members' questions for today. The questions are shown on the sheet circulated. Number 1 then, Councillor Maria Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to the leader. I understand that the decision to retire the second fire appliance from Cumbran is to be referred to the Council's scrutiny process. Please, could the leader confirm that all members of the Council will have the opportunity to engage in this process? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Graham. I can confirm that this is the case. The South Wales Fire Service has contacted the Council with a view to establishing an opportunity to engage with all members in relation to the findings of the fire cover review. I know every member will be keen to contribute to their views on this topic, so I am liaising directly with the Chief Fire Officer to establish an appropriate date and suitable mechanism through which this exchange can take place.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could the leader also describe the opportunities the Council will put in place to ensure that the views of the public inform this scrutiny exercise in accordance with the established principles of the effective scrutiny? Thank
you, Councillor Graham. I think the plan is to get the Fire Brigade back here to a seminar to explain to everybody their current position, and then, if necessary, we'll have a scrutiny committee after that.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor. This is to Councillor Hunt. With recent changes to regulations in respect to the employment of enforceable agents, formerly known as bailiffs, to include the increase of fees and charges, how is the Council going to ensure that we are going to protect our most vulnerable and vulnerably housed citizens across the authority from aggressive bailiff action?
Thank you. I know Richard Davis sent out a communication to all members recently on the changes that have been introduced through legislation. There's also an article going out in Torvine Talks this month to ensure all residents are aware. We are also meeting with financial inclusion officers to discuss the change, and we are awaiting further information from the CAB with regard to setting a meeting up with them. In terms of the practice of this Council, any customer who gets into arrears, in line with the legislative requirements, is written to on several occasions. There are reminders, summons and then a liability letter. This clearly gives any customer who is experiencing difficulty a number of opportunities to contact us to set up repayment terms prior to any enforcement action. Including the above letters will be closer communication about the challenge to the enforcement agent's fees to ensure customers are fully aware of costs, and again urging them to contact us. It's very much down to the customer to contact us if they're experiencing difficulties with regards to arrears, and then we can discuss and assess the situation. If we are contacted, we will be able to consider 1. If the customer is benefiting from all reliefs and council tax reduction that are available. 2. Whether an extension of repayment terms to 12 months for in-year charges would be appropriate. 3. If there's any potential to set up appropriate arrangements on arrears to ensure they are addressed. And 4. If in exceptional circumstances, whether hardship is appropriate.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yes, Mayor. With the increase of enforcement agency charges and the fact that the taking out of personal loans are also on the increase, is the Council adding to the citizens' debt problems by using enforcement agencies?
Okay, obviously there's a balance to be struck here between the need for us to recover debts properly and the need to be, sort of sympathetic in how we deal with these things. I've said the 4 points there are 4 clear things that we can try to do to address whether there's a sort of a difficulty that someone's having as opposed to a refusal to pay. And we're committed to taking all 4 of those, considering all 4 of those potential options to save unnecessary hardship being caused.
Mr. Mayor, could I come in, Mr. Mayor?
No, sorry. Councillor Rees.
Diolch, Mayor. This is a question for Councillor Morby. Current pupil projections suggest the Fairwater site may be full should a new school open there. In order to undertake refurbishment work, sections of the building will need to be vacated. What financial provision has been made to cover the cost of porta cabins, if they are required, and will this cost come out of the £6 million refurbishment budget?
Thanks for the question. For those for whom it isn't clear, this question relates to the proposal which has been out for consultation within Torvine about Llantarnam and Fairwater schools, proposals to close those schools and to open a new school on the Fairwater Comprehensive Schools site. My answer, obviously, will come prior to a decision being taken by this Council as to whether or not that proposal will proceed to a statutory consultation. So bearing that in mind, what I would say that for the moment is that timing remains a factor, but if we could get onto the Fairwater site before the new school fills up, it may negate the need for temporary accommodation. Also, one suggestion put forward during the recent public consultation, which will be considered, was to decant all pupils into Lantarnham School building whilst the refurbishment of the Fairwater building went ahead. Should that not be possible or appropriate, the cost of installing leased demountable classrooms, if needed, would come out of the £6 million investment. The cost of porta cabins can't be established yet, as we do not know how many we need and for how long. But once the decision has been made and an implementation date set, we can start to work out the refurbishment programme and transition plan, which will inform how many temporary classrooms may be needed.
Thank you, Councillor Mulvey. Supplementary?
Yeah, I have supplementary, and I'll be asking in Welsh. And thanks for the caveat for your, at the start of your answer. That was very well explained. Unwaith y bydd ysgol newydd wedi cael ei hadeiladu a saffle Croesicaliog, ni fydd angen y tir lle saffaeth yr adeiladu personol, a'r wr Cyngor wedi derbyn pris am tir hwn ac y fyddi modd defnyddio yn cyflaf a rhyddhau'r ei gymrydau cam 2 o waith aliwampio'r ysgol newydd posib ar safle Fairwater.
Mr Jones.
This is a translation of Councillor Rees's supplementary question. Once a new school has been built on the Costa Ceiliog site, the land occupied by the current buildings will be surplus to requirements. Has the Council had an evaluation of this land, and could the capital released be used to accelerate the Phase 2 refurbishment of the possible new school on the Fairwater site?
Thanks for the supplementary. In English, I'm afraid. The new building to be built on the Croesicaliog site would be behind the new Crown Bridge School building, and the site of the current school will be cleared, demolished for completion of external works, including sports provision. As part of the longer-term strategic outline programme within our 21st Century Schools programme, and in Band C, which doesn't commence until the 2020s, there is a proposal to build a new primary school on the remaining site within the Croesicaliog school boundary, rather than to dispose of it. So the question of using those funds don't arise in respect of the Fairwater Lantarnham change.
Councillor Cross.
As you know, my question is for you also, Councillor Mulvey. And from your answer to Jeff, it sounded like you have answered it, because mine relates to using the Lantarnham site in a temporary basis to save costs. Is that correct? Or should I just ask the question anyway? Okay. Right. Has the Education Department considered using the Lantarnham site on a temporary basis when the new school opens? This would allow unfettered access to the Fairwater site for refurbishment work. The refurbishment work could also be done much quicker at a lower cost, and the cost of temporary accommodation would also be avoided.
Thanks, Fiona. Yes, there are a number of proposals which have been put forward during the consultation exercise. All of them will be examined and considered. These include the choice of site for the newly created school, the timing of implementation of the proposal, the proposed catchment areas, whether a phased transfer is appropriate, and whether the temporary use of one site would be helpful for the reason given in your question, plus others. This particular option would cause a double disruption for a large number of pupils, and that is a counter consideration. In taking forward a proposal to the next stage, we must aim to minimise disruption to teaching and learning, and the benefits of undertaking refurbishment work when pupils are not present will also be part of that consideration. And there will be a report in due course to Cabinet, which will result in a proposal coming no doubt before full council.
Thank you, Councillor Mulvey. Supplementary? No. Thank you. Move on in. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is to Councillor Hunt. With the knowledge that there is a revised surplus of £118,000 in relationship to discretionary housing payments for the year 2013-14, and with the fact that local housing allowance has been reduced for the financial year 2014-15, will the Executive Member for Resources give a statement in regard to the allocation and anticipated payments of discretionary housing allowance for the forthcoming year?
Okay, this is a similar question to one at the last council. In respect of discretionary housing payments, we are given an upper limit by the DWP, as are all councils, above which we cannot go. The DWP grant funds the payments up to a lower limit, and our resources are required should demand exceed that lower limit. This council agreed to fund payments up to the upper limit based upon demand. We continue to administer discretionary housing payments in line with that policy. The projected year-end financial position for 2013-14 has no bearing on the upper limit that is set by the DWP, and we cannot supplement it. As of Q3, we are one of only 3 councils in Wales currently reporting projected spend above the DWP-funded lower limit, and the only one currently with a spend above it, i.e. using our own resources to supplement the DWP grant limit.
Thank you, Councillor. Supplementary? No. Thank you. Councillor Rees.
This is for the Leader. Just to check, Leader, can you hear me loud and clear? Will the Leader set out the timeline that he envisages to complete discussions with the First Minister, leading to an early agreement on the future shape and functions of local government for the benefit of Torfaen citizens?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Rees. I seem to have had it once or twice before. But anyway, my answer is, as I mentioned to Councillor Rees at the Council on the 4th of March, political parties across Wales are currently considering the ramifications of the recommended changes to the Welsh Public Services set out within the Williams Commission report. At this time, in my opinion, it remains unwise to make any statement on the proposed mergers until such times as these discussions have been progressed. That includes statements on potential timelines. Whatever the future holds, our immediate priority is to continue serving the people living in Torfaen.
Thank you, Leader. Supplementary?
Thanks very much. I'm still going to keep on asking you, and the reason is because I feel this indecision is maybe affecting service delivery, as the map of local government is still unclear. And I think officers need to be given a steer clear about where we're going. The First Minister stated on the 1st of April that it's important that the map of local government is agreed before the summer, in order for those authorities who wish to merge sooner. In order for those authorities who wish to merge to do so sooner rather than later. Is Torfaen one of those authorities, and if we are, who are you planning for us to merge with?
Well, let me just say that all political parties have discussed this. Your party discussed it. The Liberals party discussed it on Sunday, I think it was, of last week. We discussed it and had a very successful conference the week before last. What came out of that conference was that the principle of change was accepted by all parties that were involved, certainly at the Labour Party conference, and indeed in the WLGA prior to the Labour Party conference. So the principle of change is established. Now, the question of the mergers and what the boundaries are, that's up for discussion, and that discussion will take place over the summer, and we'll be able to report back on that, hopefully, in September or October or November.
Thank you, members. Agenda item 12, date of the next meeting. For your information, members, the annual council meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 20th May 2014 at 5 o'clock here in the council chamber. The next ordinary council meeting will take place 24th of June. Agenda item 13, cabinet decisions. Member, the cabinet decisions start on page 122. There were no challenges to the decisions. Do the members have any questions or any discussions? No. All okay to note the vote? Well, thank you very much. Agenda item 14, Chief Executive decisions. Member, the Chief Executive decision starts on page 127. Any questions? No. All okay to note? Yeah. Thank you, members. The Chief Executive's decision is noted. That's the end of the council meeting. Thank you. There you are.